Hey everybody, what's up? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School, and I'm sitting here in Houston. We're about to we're taking the Black Economic Empowerment Tour to H-Town tomorrow, which is Thursday, March 31st, at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. We're also going to Kansas City next. Then we're going to Baltimore after that, the 21st and the 28th, and we're going just city to city to city, and we're trying to empower you as black people, all of us as black people, to um, basically kick racism in the ass by being the best that we can be, and by working together, and by building strong communities. Now, one of the things I wanted to address real quick, and I think this is such a good conversation. This is really the kind of conversation that's only been possible in the last few years with the age of the internet. The internet allows all of us as black people to talk. This is the first time in human history that black people have been able to talk to each other without white interference, without a white man giving the green light for the conversation to happen through media. And I think this is a really important time, because this is the time for us to really sort of check the nuances. And I'm going to talk for a couple minutes on this so you really understand exactly where I'm coming from. You can look me right in the eye and know exactly what I'm really trying to say, because I think it's really an important conversation to have. There's a rapper out of New York by the name of Young M.A. I guess she used to call herself Young Ma. She's a really, really, really talented artist, very, very good. She did a freestyle on the Chirac verse that a lot of people rap on. I saw Lady Leisure and a bunch of people rapping on that verse. It's a nice beat, so I guess a lot of artists kind of show their skill with that beat. And and so far, I think out of all the people I've seen rap on the Chirac beat, she actually was the very best one that I saw. But I saw the video. I saw that what she was rapping about, and when I listen to hip hop, I've been a fan of hip hop music for a long time, so I listen to the lyrical content very carefully, because I'm always, always, always thinking about and deeply concerned about what sort of messages are being sent to black kids, through the music. What are we really talking about as black people? What is really, and really to some extent, is racist. I mean, the white man's really the one who taught you to brag about murdering each other, right? I mean, he's the one that created all this chaos in our communities. And so I was listening to the verse, and I was like, man, like, she's so talented, but these verses are not. They're very creative. It was actually brilliant, but I was very uncomfortable with the celebration of black genocide, and that's kind of what we have whenever you hear songs from artists where we're talking about, we're bragging, I'm gonna shoot that nigga, I'm gonna murder that nigga, I'm gonna blow that nigga's brains out. Do you understand how weird that is? I mean, you don't really hear Jewish people do that. You don't hear Asian people bragging about murdering other Asian people. Really, this kind of self-promoted genocide is really something that's unique to black people. And here's the thing, though. When I hear this music, I don't necessarily blame the artists, because I think a lot of the artists, they grew up in traumatized environments. They grew up in war zones. And we'll talk about that more in a second. But they're kind of rapping based on the situation they're in, based on what they see, based on how the world looks at the age of 20, 21, 22, 25, etc. And they didn't learn that on their own. Some of that they learned from the previous generation. Remember Tupac, a guy I admired immensely. Me and Tupac were the same age. He kind of started the whole gangster stuff thing. He in NWA, Ice Cube's about my age. NWA was kind of the first ones to really take hip hop and help flip it on its head. Now, the interesting thing about that, though, is that when you think about that era, you think about the early 90s, where a lot of kids, if the kids are like 20, 21, they don't even remember any of this. They don't know how influenced they are by what happened at that time. That is when you went from an era where in the late 80s, early 90s, where hip-hop was used as a tool for amazing empowerment of black people. You had KRS-One, who had a song called You Must Learn, where he was literally rapping black history and had people bopping to, like literally like jamming to like lyrics that were telling you who the greatest people in black history were. You had X-Clan, who was one of the top groups at the time, I think the number one group for a while, that was rapping about the pride of being black. And then suddenly hip hop just turns into something different. It turns into something that celebrates violence, self-destruction, excessive drug and alcohol consumption. It celebrated incarceration. And there are people, and I've talked to some artists. I know a lot of hip hop artists. Some like me, some don't. I know a lot of people on the inside who really feel that this was not a coincidence. Remember, hip hop was one of the most powerful tools for black empowerment at the time. So, what better way to fill up the prisons than to engage black men to celebrate their own criminality, to get them to actually applaud each other for engaging in criminal behavior? You know, if I catch you with those drugs, or I catch you with the gun, or you go kill somebody, then guess what? You get to go fill up the white man's prison. He gets to make money off you, because that's where slavery is legal. The only place in America where slavery, according to the Constitution, is legal is in a penitentiary. Go check the 13th Amendment. They did not abolish slavery in America. Slavery is legal if you've been convicted of a felony. Now, what do you have 20 years later? You've got a large percentage of black people convicted of felonies. Now, here's what's interesting about this video, Young Mind, why I felt the need to address it, because I just think it's such a good conversation to have. Because what it does is it kind of says, that you can't look at the world in black and white. I think the natural way to respond to, my concerns about the lyrical content and say, oh, he's a hater. Oh, that dude, man, he don't care. He hates all the young hip hop artists. Da, da, da. No, that's not true. There are a lot of young hip hop artists I've supported. Many, 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 many. I could go down the list. All the way from D1 to B. Dot the God to all kinds of guys, Jasiri X, Immortal Technique, stuff like that. I mean, there are a lot of hip hop artists that I know, and I talk to hip hop artists all the time. Every day in my inbox, I get emails from hip hop artists that want me to help them get on the map or want me to help share their music, and most of the time I do. But at the same time, see, if you really love hip hop and you really love young people, you've got to care enough to sometimes say things that they may not want to hear. That's what a mentor does. That's what my father did for me. And you see, in a lot of our communities, we don't have fathers anymore. We don't have those father figures. Why? Well, because they shipped them all the way to prison. They either got them hooked on the drugs, or they locked them up for the drugs, and they were murdered because of drugs. So how many kids do you know whose father is not there because he was either sent to prison over drugs, killed over drugs, or got hooked on drugs? It's a lot. That's not a coincidence. They wanted to destroy the black community by destroying the black man, and they have been very, very successful. Mass incarceration has actually been a holocaust for the black community, a holocaust on even par with what happened to the Jews in Nazi Germany. And I dare anybody to try to act like what happened to the Jews is any worse than what happened to black people in the last 30, 40 years when they started deliberately targeting black people with the war on drugs and criminalizing as many black people as possible so they could fill up the penitentiaries. So what do you have? Now you have music where kids are immune to the idea of talking about killing each other. It's normalized because everybody's doing it. Now, mind you, a lot of artists now have actually woke up to this. When I talk to Dame Dash, when Dame Dash and I teach Intelligent Boss Moves, one thing Dame says consistently, and this is the reason why Dame and I work well together, is he says, look, the way I saw the world when I was 25 is not how I see the world as a father. And he says, look, the disrespect I showed toward women, I would not want a man to disrespect my daughter that way. The nonsense, the coonery I promoted, throwing money in the air, just whatever, he said I would not promote that now. Promoting violence, he said I would not promote those things now. And a lot of that stuff that you only figure out when you start to realize what impact this has on your children. So when I look at, so this puts into context how I kind of see young MA's video on Vlad TV. Vlad called me about that video and said that she wanted to have a sit down and talk to me. And then I saw her video, and she said that her people from my team had emailed me to ask me about my comments about her video, which apparently made it go super viral. And I'm happy. I was really happy for her when I heard about this. I said, wow, that's great, good for her. I didn't think of it like, oh man, this horrible rapper, she's getting a hit. No, I'm happy for any young person who achieves their goal. But what I also try to do is encourage intelligent young people like her. I listen to her talk. She's very, 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 very smart. In fact, most freestyle rappers are actually geniuses. Most of us can't come up with lyrical content like this off the top of our head just like that. Most of us have to sit and think, and even if we have 2 days to write it down, we still can't come up with verses that are that good. So I love interacting with these young people because they're very smart. When you present them other ways of looking at the world, they're actually able to be quite receptive to this. But what you have to do as an older person, you have to encourage them to understand, look, that just because everybody else is doing something, that doesn't mean that's what you're supposed to do. Just because you think that this is hot and this is the style, this is the trend, well, you're not just a trend follower. You're supposed to be a trendsetter. If you care about the hood that you come from that much, and this is the hard conversation I had with Lil Wayne's people 2 or 3 years ago when we got his Mountain Dew contract shut down over the crap that he was doing, is I said, look, you come from poverty. You've seen violence. You've seen what incarceration does to people. So why would you, in a million years, promote these things as if they are good? Why do you want black people to remain poor and ignorant? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you celebrate going to prison when you know what happens to young black men when they go to prison? The abuse, the mental illness, the rape that occurs in prison. Why would you talk about prison like it's a good thing? You know the devastation of what it's like to lose a loved one when somebody got shot in the head at the club over some bullshit. Why would you promote that like it's cool? Why would you make a song like always strapped when I hit the club? Why are you promoting this? It doesn't make any sense. Black people, we're the only ones who've been trained like almost like monkeys. Some of us, all of us really, me too. All of us are brainwashed, trained to celebrate and sing and dance to the beat of our own genocide. That doesn't make any sense. You're not supposed to do that. And so the thing is, though, I give young people a pass on this because when I was young, I didn't understand it. When I heard NWA talking about, I'm going to kill your crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube, when I got a sawed off, bodies all hauled off, I thought that was cool when I was 17 or 18 years old. Then I look back on it and I say, oh my God, that was sick. That was crazy. But then I'd also do more research and I find out that was also the time when South Central Los Angeles had been turned into one of the original urban war zones because the CIA was letting crack cocaine into the United States so they could lock up black men on the corner because they weren't locking up the kingpins. They weren't stopping the drugs. They didn't want to stop the drugs. They wanted them in your neighborhood because they wanted to destabilize black communities. A Nixon administration official admitted that the whole war on drugs facade was invented so they could destroy black communities. They could go raid your house. They could go traumatize your kids. They could murder your men. They could lock the rest of the men up in prison. And guess what? It worked. So when I look at it now, I can only in a clear conscience talk about it to young people to say, look, this is the mistake people in our generation made. We fell for this stuff. We thought this stuff was cool. But you don't have to do this. But here's the thing that's interesting. This is what made me think about young M.A. I watched a video. I thought about it very carefully as I was watching it. And I noticed some things that she said that said to me certain things about who she is as a person. I got the sense that she's a thoughtful, intelligent person. I watched a video. The video literally actually starts with her hugging a bunch of kids, which tells me that she's a compassionate person. I also think she's a person that has enough sense to understand some of what I'm saying here. Not that I'm right. I don't proclaim to be right about everything. I'm wrong about some stuff. And what I would really say definitely is that maybe the way the words came off in a way that was consistent with what people think that an older person's going to say about young people's music. Like, oh, he's just hating. And I remember feeling that way. I remember when I was a kid and I had, my parents and whatever. And see, that's the thing. I had two parents. A lot of kids today don't even have that. They don't even know what that's like. I mentor kids who do not know one single person, not one friend who has both parents in the household. That's how crazy it is. I live on the south side of Chicago. It's like ground zero for this type of stuff. But I remember when I heard older people criticizing what was happening to the music, and I thought they were just full of it. When I heard Reverend Calvin Butts, who loved the black community, when I heard him critique Ice Cube, rapping about, gang violence or whatever, I remember thinking, oh, man, he's an old hater. I'm glad Ice Cube tore him down or whatever. And so I guess to some extent that's going to happen. But at the same time, you need those haters around, meaning those older people, those mentors who kind of say, like, what are you doing? Right? If my father hadn't stopped me and said, what are you doing? Why are you, I went on a show one time. I was on with a rapper. I'm not going to say the rapper's name, but I was on a national TV show with a rapper. And the rapper said something that my father knew I didn't agree with it. He knew that I knew it was kind of coonery, and I kind of laughed it off and I was kind of going along with it. And I remember him checking me afterward and he said, don't you ever co-sign on ignorance. He said, you don't do that. You don't co-sign on ignorance. And I thought about that, and so as a result, that played a part in shaping my philosophy of life. Some other things I noticed about this young lady, she mentioned that music is therapeutic for her, And I could tell, I said, she's been through some trauma. She's seen some things that she shouldn't see. She mentioned that her brother had been murdered. Um, and and I'm sure she's had other friends that have gone through similar things. She's probably seen people get taken off to prison. And what I think people have to realize is that that's not normal. It's not normal to have a large percentage of your young people having seen 2 or 3 people get murdered by the time they're 18 years old. There are a lot of communities where people never see a person get murdered. They never have a relative who dies before the age of 60, unless they have some bad disease or something like that. Our kids have been traumatized. I noticed that she said she has a lot that's on her mind and on her spirit, that she says she can't talk about it, and it comes out through her music. That's another sign of the trauma that a lot of our kids have experienced. And what you want to actually do, go study this. Don't just take my word for it. Go study it. Trauma affects your brain. Trauma affects you for the rest of your life. You don't just overcome trauma. It's not just a big deal. So a lot of our kids actually, they grew up in these war zones, these socially engineered war zones where the fathers are all gone and the violence has come in. We don't make AK-47s, we don't make crack cocaine, but suddenly it's all over the black neighborhood. It's got the white man's hands all over. We got to start saying that. Stop being scared of checking the white man for his misbehavior, right? So you got all this craziness, this chaos. Our kids are growing up in this, thinking that this is normal, when the fact is that they have post-traumatic stress disorder. They have the same psychological disease in many cases that people get when they go do 2 tours in Afghanistan or Iraq. So that's what our kids are dealing with. And that's what I think gave me a lot of empathy for what this young lady was feeling. I didn't grow up in a war zone, but my best friend was shot in the head when I was 25. He was killed around the same time Tupac was killed. And I remember being very upset about it because he had a daughter, and they acted like, oh, he was a black man, he must have deserved it. I know another black man who was shot 7 or 8 times, and the police, when they walked up to him, they didn't help him. They assumed that he must have done something to deserve it because he was a black man. So this is the kind of stuff that we're forced to be put through on a regular basis, and it's crazy, it's ridiculous. So here's what I want to say, just to kind of finish this up. When Vlad told me Young M.A. wanted to talk to me on camera, and we're going to do this in New York next month, I said absolutely, I would love to talk to her. I wanted to talk to Tyler, the Creator, because I think Tyler, the Creator, didn't understand why I had an issue with Lil Wayne. I had an issue with Lil Wayne because Lil Wayne made fun of Emmett Till being murdered by white people for looking at a white woman. He thought that was funny. He thought that was, he wanted to go make more money from white people by dissing black people. Black people, we're the only ones who get paid to call each other niggas. We're the only ones who get paid to disrespect women in this way. Do you know that you probably can't even make a song about killing an animal, but you can make as many songs as you want about killing a black man? Think about how fucked up that is. How crazy that is. If I make a song and I say I want to kill horses and kill dogs all day long, they would be all over me. They wouldn't put it on the air. They would shut it down right instantly. But if I say I want to make, if I make 100 songs about killing black men, they will celebrate me. They will thank me. They will give me awards for this. So I want you to think about that for a second. But long story short, I want to say this publicly and make this very, very crystal 100% clear. Young M.A., I congratulate you on your success. I'm very happy. I'm very proud of the fact that I played a role in contributing to your success, even though I was kind of the villain in all of this. I'm hopeful that one day we can be friends. I would love to support you. I mentor a lot of young artists. There's a lot of young artists that call me and we talk about life. If you ever want that, I'm always here. I'm not the enemy. I want to see you do well. And also the fact that she's a woman, that actually didn't cause me to criticize her. Her being a woman actually causes me to want to see her celebrated that much more. If you recall, the very last video I just made was one where I actually critiqued us as black men because we don't respect the voices of women the way we should. Go check my YouTube channel. It's the last video I put up. So let's just make sure. I want to do this video to make sure the misinformation does not prevail in this conversation. I don't want to see young people fail. But my job as an older man in the community, and I'm older now, I'm not 24, I'm 44. I'm not 64, but I'm not 24. My job is to mentor. My job is sometimes to be the bad guy. That's what a good parent does. And I enjoy the idea. And in fact, every black man watching this needs to understand this. This is what Damon Dash and I talk about all the time. We have a shortage of fathers in the community. We really have a shortage of strong fathers in the community because so many black men have been emasculated by white supremacy. So because we have a shortage of strong black men in the community, that means every brother out here needs to step up. Just like Jim Brown did for a lot of years. Jim Brown intervened in gang disputes. Minister Farrakhan does this on the south side of Chicago, where he gets respect wherever he goes from everybody. So basically all of us as black men have to understand our role. Our role is to hold it down for black people. And sometimes when you're mentoring kids, that means that you got to be the bad guy to at least make sure your voice is in their ear when they're being influenced by all these things that are designed to kill them. White supremacy is designed to kill you. Mass incarceration is designed to exterminate you. All these things that are influencing you in music are designed to end your life at an early age and to make you give up hope so much that you marginalize yourself so they don't have to do it for you. That's what system you're dealing with. That's the country that you're looking at. So that's all I want to say. I'm about to get out of here. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Business School. By the way, don't forget, we're in Houston tomorrow, March 31st. We're also going to be in Kansas City and in Baltimore and then New York City in the month of May. You can find out more at the drboycewatkinstour.com. That's the drboycewatkinstour.com. I hope to see you soon. Take care, guys. Love you. Peace.